lado vivirán y te hablarán. Ay, como cuando tú estás conmigo.
So just when you think Democrats can't possibly get any more psychotic, any more delusional, any more anti-American, they shocked the entire world with their latest performative stunt. A Democrat senator from Maryland going to El Salvador and meeting and dining with an illegal MS-13 gang member. This has sparked the left calling this senator a hero. This situation illustrates perfectly why the Democrat Party is so unfavorable with the American public, because they continue to direct all of their energy and concern to anybody else except American citizens. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's start by hearing from Donald Trump listing off the crazy rap sheet of this guy that the left is defending.
Two separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13. When Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money pouring out, an MS-13 gang symbol, that he was driving with two other known violent MS-13 gang members, two of the most violent members that we know of in the MS-13 gang of thugs. In 2022, Garcia was stopped by the Tennessee Highway Patrol and was found to be transporting 7 people from Texas to Maryland, and he had no driver's license. He was driving violently. In 2020 and 2021, Garcia's wife filed for a protective order from him and said he was violent and abusive and really scary, including allegations that he punched and scratched her on the eye, left her bleeding after throwing her laptop on the floor at her, ripped her shirt, and ripped off her shorts. He then grabbed her arm, leaving very severe marks. Garcia's wife also wrote in court, "At this point, I am afraid to be close to him. I just don't want to be close. I have multiple photos and videos how violent he can be, and all of the bruises that he's left on me." She just couldn't get anywhere near him. This is the man that the Democrats are wanting us to fly back from El Salvador to be a happily ensconced member of the USA family.
Okay, so those are the facts, whether the left wants to admit it or not. This is just another example of the left picking the most outrageous, unpopular stance simply because they have to go against anything Donald Trump is doing. They keep complaining this guy hasn't gotten due process, but he's already gotten a deportation order. Literally, the only hiccup in this entire thing is that there was an order to not deport him to El Salvador because he feared retaliation by a rival gang. Because he's a gang member. He testified against that very gang. That is the only administrative hiccup in this entire thing. And the reason why it's not even a big deal is because that very same gang he claimed that he was fleeing from no longer exists in El Salvador. But the liberal media wants to ignore all of those facts. For some reason, they have decided that this guy who beats his wife, who traffics illegal immigrants, is the person they want to give ultimate compassion and sympathy to. The very clip I just showed you of Donald Trump, MSNBC was covering this live, and the moment Donald Trump starts listing off these facts, they cut away so their viewers can't hear them. I'm dead serious. Watch.
In 2019, Garcia was issued a deportation order. Two separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13, which is a gang that may be even worse.
We've been watching President Donald Trump there swearing in the new administrator of the CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, Dr. Mehmet Oz, during this conversation.
If that doesn't show you the insane bias, the blatant propaganda from the left, I don't know what else could. They are specifically choosing to omit the fact that this guy is not the saint that they claim that he is. He is an El Salvadorian national with a deportation order, yet they continue to call him a Maryland man, a Maryland father. It's the most disingenuous thing ever. It's so insulting that they're trying to paint this narrative that this guy is no different from us. He's your fellow countryman. He's an upstanding, productive citizen, a great father and husband who is just as apple pie and Wonder Bread American as the rest of us. Let's take a look at the picture that rocked the world of Senator Chris Van Hollen. Look at the sympathy and the care in his eyes for this illegal immigrant gang member. And the Democrats wonder why we say they're the party that hates America. His tweet reads, "I said my main goal of this trip was to meet with Kilmar. Tonight I had that chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. I look forward to providing a full update upon my return." The actual US citizens have been harmed by the invasion of 12 million illegal immigrants that are bringing their crime and their tendencies and their general lack of the rule of law to our country. Again, these are the people that would not stand and applaud Laken Riley's mother when Donald Trump addressed Congress. But yet they're moving mountains, going down to El Salvador on the taxpayer dime to do photo ops with a gang member. Democrats are screaming, "Due process, due process. He needs due process." He literally has a deportation order because he got due process. He went through the process. And it's this level of administrative headache, the demand for long, lengthy legal hearings, even after this guy has been seen by several judges who have deemed him to be a gang member, who have issued him a deportation order. It's still not enough for Democrats. And that reveals their whole game plan. They don't want these illegal immigrants to be deported. They genuinely want them to stay and become citizens and residents. I've seen some Democrats even argue that bring him back, and if the judge says, fine, he can go back to El Salvador, then that's fine. Or if they deport him somewhere else, that's fine. But he was not supposed to go to El Salvador, so bring him back on the US taxpayer dime, send him through another round of trials, and even though you're going to kick him out anyway, do all this because he didn't somehow get due process already. A liberal outlet called the Midas Touch quote tweeted that picture and said Senator Van Hollen is a hero. So that just lets you know where the Democrat Party is right now. They believe in fighting for the rights of illegal immigrants, not the rights of Americans to have a sovereign country, to not have their wages be pushed down by people who will accept far less, not to have to compete for limited housing, especially when these illegals are getting their housing paid for by the government. They think the moral position that the American people should take is to let violent criminal gang members live in our country indefinitely because Democrats want to facilitate the downfall of America. Well, sorry, we don't want that. And we don't care about a little administrative error. So the White House fired back to that picture and posted their own saying, "We are not the same." This is a side-by-side of a Maryland mother whose daughter was killed by an illegal immigrant, next to the Maryland senator who is comforting an illegal MS-13 gang member who also happened to live in Maryland. So this guy has all the heart in the world for the gang member, but hasn't even reached out to offer condolences to the mother who lost her child to an illegal immigrant. And Democrats are complaining, oh, one doesn't have to do with the other. This guy wasn't responsible for murdering that girl. That's not the point. These pictures are supposed to show you the stark difference between the priorities of the Republicans and the priorities of the Democrats. The Republicans show our sympathy to the actual victims who have been harmed by this illegal immigration crisis. The Democrats' sympathy is with violent illegal criminals who have been inconvenienced due to being deported. And it's funny because I've been seeing on X Democrats saying, this is what action looks like. This is what happens when we keep up the pressure. First off, this is just as performative as the sing-song protests or Cory Booker filibustering for 25 hours. Democrats want this man to come home. The guy's not home. They didn't make any progress on that. So by definition, it was just another performative photo op. But what's even worse is they actually think this happened because this random Maryland senator came down to El Salvador and started making demands. You think President Bukele would have let you meet this guy unless he got the okay from Donald Trump? No, what Donald Trump wanted was exactly for this moment to happen, where he could have a picture that was broadcasted to the world that summed up Democrat priorities perfectly. And he could put that right next to a picture of him with the mother of the daughter who was killed by the illegal immigrants. So he could have the stark contrast right there in front of your face. Donald Trump simply allowed you to make a fool out of yourself and allow the American people to see just how ridiculous the Democrat Party is. He is sitting back and just allowing the Democrats to self-implode. Now, amidst this whole ordeal, CNN came out and actually showed a poll on live TV showing that the majority of Americans are in favor of deporting all illegal immigrants. Take a look.
Deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump, and I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive.
So that's how you know just how unpopular what this Democrat senator is doing. The majority agree all illegal immigrants have to go. The number for those who think that illegal immigrants who have committed a crime should go is like 80 or 90%. So it would be bad enough if Democrats took the 40 side of a 60-40 issue that CNN just showed, but instead they're taking the 10% side of a 90-10 issue. They're not just defending an illegal immigrant. They're defending an illegal immigrant who beats his wife, who traffics humans, who is part of a vicious gang. This is a losing strategy for Democrats. Here's a guy on CNN telling the entire panel that the Democrats are completely lost.
The point is that Van Hollen won't talk to the woman here who lost her daughter in Maryland, but he will go down to El Salvador to try to bring an MS-13 gangbangers back to America?
Really? It is disturbing that you are
I think the Democrat Party is completely lost.
It is disturbing that you are
lost
sitting here
and losing
defending.
it.
Again, this is the party that had absolutely nothing to say about millions upon millions of illegal immigrants coming into the country over the last 4 years. The complete and utter abuse of the asylum system to let these people come in, stay for years and years and years on end, have a child, they become an American citizen. Now they can stay forever. And who do you think they're going to vote for? The party that let them illegally break into the United States and stay and receive all of this free welfare? Or the other party that wants to deport them? It was a clear strategy by Democrats to overrun the country with third world people. Who cares if it destroys our culture and makes America less safe? It meant an influx of 10 million plus future Democrat voters, and that's all they cared about. Democrats had absolutely zero objection to that. But now they have every single objection in the world, every step of the way when it comes to removing these people from the country. They keep trying to fall back on this concept of due process, which is basically just a way of absolving yourself from having to admit that you're perfectly fine with these people staying here forever. Any rational person can admit that the long, drawn out, years long trial after appeal after appeal that they want each single illegal immigrant to go through would take hundreds and hundreds of years to facilitate. Democrats know this. They'll even admit it. And then they'll say, I don't care. Due process. You have to have due process. America is nothing without due process. And then they fearmonger to justify their ridiculous position by saying, well, if there's no due process for these illegals, then who's to say that you have due process? Then Trump's gonna do it to you. Trump's gonna try to deport citizens. It's such an absurd, logical fallacy. It's so intellectually dishonest to make the claim that if we rapidly process deportations of illegal immigrants, that means next thing you know, Donald Trump's gonna be trying to deport your grandma. Listen to Stephen Miller, who's absolutely become a favorite of mine, lay into the Democrats for their defense of this insane illegal immigrant.
Sean, we've reached a point in American politics where we have one party led by President Donald Trump that fights for Americans, and a second party, I guess led by AOC, that fights for illegal aliens. But not just illegal aliens, criminal, wife-beating, terrorist illegal aliens. 2 immigration judges, as you said, found that he was a member of MS-13, as did the arresting police department here nearby in Prince George's County. On top of that, we have, of course, the protective order filed by his wife, alleging horrific, multiple instances.
There were 2?
Yes, of extreme, violent physical abuse. And then on top of all of that, He's an illegal alien and a member of what has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization. You have the entire machinery of the Democrat Party using all of its power not to fight for lower costs, as President Trump is, or better trade deals, as President Trump is, or lower taxes, as President Trump is, but to fight to bring this illegal alien with all those horrific crimes and allegations and history against him back to the United States, where he can do what? He can commit additional acts that threaten the safety of the American people. This is the biggest, sharpest contrast you will ever see between the priorities of President Trump and the priorities of the Democrat Party.
It shows you that Democrats are truly Trump deranged and they don't want to hear the truth when they just won't accept the fact that a sheriff department confirmed him to be MS-13. An undercover informant confirmed him to be MS-13. When he was picked up, the two guys who he was arrested with were MS-13. One of the people that he was trafficking was found to be MS-13. Two courts deemed it credible that he was MS-13, but one judge said he wasn't, and that's the only evidence that they'll point to. Like, this guy was wearing an MS-13 sweatshirt, and he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat, which is an MS-13 gang sign. And disingenuous Democrats say, a Chicago Bulls hat? That doesn't mean you're an MS-13 gang member, because they don't have any common sense or critical thinking. Sure, a Chicago Bulls hat is not an MS-13 gang symbol on its own, but we do know that it is a symbol used by MS-13. So a Chicago Bulls hat on an MS-13 gang member is a gang symbol. A Chicago Bulls hat on someone who isn't MS-13 is not a gang symbol. It's that simple. Just the same way that just because someone's wearing a blue t-shirt doesn't mean that they're an LA Crip. But if an LA Crip is wearing a blue t-shirt, that blue t-shirt is a gang sign. It's not hard to understand. They just don't want to, because they've just decided to pick ignorance. I don't know if the Democrats can get any worse. This, to me, is the lowest thing that they've done to date. It's up there with protesting against cutting government corruption. I don't know what's wrong with these people. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.